So we go and we land at landing site number 1. If we landed way off, we could bring the second Earth return vehicle down to land near us wherever we did land. Anyway, so we're on the surface for a year and a half, which is the amount of time we'd have to be there to wait for the planets to move to give you a good launch window back to Earth. And at the end of that time, you get in the Earth return vehicle, you fly back to Earth, you leave your hab behind on Mars. So each time you do this, you add another habitat to the base. And before you know it, you've got the beginning of the first settlement on a new world. There's nothing in this that's beyond our technology. Now, the Mars 1 plan is actually technically simpler than this because you don't have an Earth return vehicle. You should use the 6-month orbit so you have an abort option if you need it. But other than that, you simply don't have the Earth return vehicle. You're just landing halves on the surface. And to me, this is doable provided you have an organization in place that can guarantee that you can keep sending more halves, more people, more supplies, so that you reinforce the first crew that lands. You know, it's the Normandy beach approach. You take the beach, you take the continent. You know, Mars Direct was designed as a plan to be done by NASA, which would not possibly entertain a first mission being a settlement mission. It would have to be an exploration mission and therefore a round trip mission. But settlement is a one-way mission, or one-way missions or settlement missions. And, you know, journalists have asked me about this, and I tell them life is a one-way journey. You know, die on Mars, you're going to die on Earth or somewhere else. And you choose your destination. But we all have a destination. I think that this is a doable thing. Obviously, you have to be very well prepared, and you have to have the logistic training. You may want to pre-land some camps before you send in people, so that there are extra habitats and extra supplies and extra power and resources of every type in place before you send the first crew. But other than that, I think this can be done. And of course, one of the advantages of doing it as a private organization, well, first of all, technically, it's what I said, is you don't develop all the return systems, and the mission is actually less risky in one sense than a round-trip mission, because you avoid all the mission risk associated with taking off from Mars, flying back to Earth, re-entry and landing at Earth. That's all out. Instead, you simply have the mission risk associated with guaranteeing extended survival on Mars. But if you send lots of supplies and lots of equipment and make yourself sufficiently redundant, I think that part of the risk can be greatly mitigated. So there you have it. I think this is a doable thing, provided you can mobilize the resources to do it. From a technical point of view, it is a mission for our time, and I think, frankly, it's shameful that NASA has avoided the challenge of humans to Mars for 4 decades. The agency that once was there would look with despair at the agency that is there today. A few weeks ago, the investigators of the RAD instrument on the Curiosity rover announced their findings. And this was of great clinical interest. And by clinical, I don't mean in terms of radiation medicine. I mean in terms of psychology. Because the Curiosity RAD results were essentially the same as those returned by the same investigators with the Marine instrument on the Mars Odyssey spacecraft in 2001. They are essentially the same as the estimates that I published in the Case for Mars in 1996. You can look in the book, you'll see them right there. The RAD investigators said 0.6 sieverts, which is 60 rem. In Case for Mars, I said 55 rem. And my estimates were based on analysis done by Ben Clark, who was a scientist on the Viking mission in 1976. There was no news here at all. And and 60 rem, if you want to know, represents about a 1% risk of getting a fatal cancer sometime in the next quarter century afterwards, assuming no advance in medical technique. And it's therefore a modest proportion of total mission risk. 60 rems is a round-trip dose, basically says radiation is not a showstopper to Mars. And yet NASA chose to play these results as saying, you see, we can't go to Mars. See, don't ask us to go to Mars, at least not until we have warp drive. And no, I mean, really, it's what they said. If you look at their press release, first of all, they claimed that it represented a 3% risk of cancer, which it does not. And then they said, we have a regulatory limit, which we have said that 3% is too much, and therefore we can't go. So don't ask us to. And this is really sad, okay? It's sad that the can-do agency, the agency that basically looked at the moon and said, you know, we don't know how to get to the moon, but we know that we're going to be able to figure out how to get to the moon, and we're going to get to the moon, okay, and did it, should be looking for excuses not to take on the challenge of our time. Now, there's certainly people in NASA who want to take on the challenge, but the people at the top, okay, apparently wish to avoid it. And frankly, they're putting the agency at risk by doing so. You know, they're letting NASA basically go adrift. The human spaceflight program has no clear objectives right now. If you ask them what they'll be doing with humans in space 10 years from now, it's nothing different from what they're doing now. And with a fiscal tsunami on the way, frankly, it's quite questionable whether the agency can survive, or the manned spaceflight program anyway, by asking for money but with no objectives. So I think they're doing a great disservice to a once great agency. Are we still there?
We're still here.
Okay. So, look, I think what you're hoping to do is technologically possible. I think the issue is mobilizing the resources, and I wish you success. And so if you have questions, I'd be delighted to take them.
So, sir, because of our setup here, what I'll do is I'll solicit